Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you how I made this little Seaside Shore flip-flop card and how I assembled the sand. Okay, the first thing you're going to need to do is print off my PDF with the flip-flops. I've also traced and punched out the holes with our 1/8 inch handheld punch so that I know where to mark the flip-flops. So once I've got my template cut out and ready to go, make sure that you mark it with the left and right flip-flop because that's going to be very, very important. I'm going to take them and set them on top of the designer series paper, and I happen to be using Festive Birthday here because of the bright bold colors, and I'm going to trace them. I've used my paper snips and I've trimmed out my flip-flops from the cardstock and the designer series paper. For the flip-flop, you want to cut right on the line that you traced around your flip-flop. For the designer series paper, go about 1/8 of an inch inside that line that you traced so that you've got that little bit of solid flip-flop showing. Okay, now I'm going to need my flip-flop pattern again, and I'm going to set it on. And I am going to take my pen or marker and I'm going to mark the holes for each one of the flip-flops. And as you can see, this is where it comes and becomes very important that you're using the right side. If not, your feet are going to look a little strange. So I'm using my handheld punch and I'm simply going to line that up and punch a hole where I drew those dots. Once I've got the holes done, I'm ready for my thick baker's twine. And there's a couple of tips here for you. Because this is a little thicker, we simply took a piece of tape on the end and wrapped it around, kind of creating a needle effect so that you have a hard point. So I'm going to start from the back side of the toe and go down here on the side of the foot on the left, and then back up on the right hand side and back down. And I'm holding it tight right now because of the threading process and I need that extra thread or that extra length of banker's twine. But once you have it through the holes in the way you want it, then you can kind of loosen up and tug on those strings a little bit to create more of an effect where your foot would go into the flip-flop. Take another piece of my Scotch tape and simply tape down those two ends and repeat on the second flip-flop. Now I suggest stamping on the crumb cake first so that you know where you want to tear. So I'm simply going to tear my sand, and this is just random. It's supposed to be random. And so I've got my sentiment, and then I've already got this part of the beach done for my top or background sand, and I can trim that down a little bit more if I'd like. Now here's the trick. I'm going to take a dimensional and I'm going to put it on my first flip-flop. On the bottom I'm going to add a little bit of multi-purpose adhesive so that it will stick well. And I'm going to set this flip-flop where I would like it on the card front. And that dimension will give it a little height so the thick baker's twine is not a problem, and I'm going to set that there. And now I'm ready to add my layer of sand. So here's the trick. Instead of adding adhesive all over the back, I'm going to add adhesive on the sides and the bottom straight edge. And I'm going to set that on my card front where I'd like it and just hold it down a second. And what that does is it allows you to put the flip-flop there. It keeps this flat where the top of the flip-flop is popped up a little bit. Okay, and I'll show you the other way you can do this if you prefer, with the flip-flop where you can tuck it in afterwards if you don't want to adhere the bottom of the flip-flop. Once again, I'm putting the adhesive around the outside and I'm attaching it to my card front, layering it where I'd like to. And then I've got my dimensional on the back of my flip-flop. I can simply lift that up carefully and tuck my flip-flop where I'd like it. Okay, for the flowers, I've taken my Blossom Punch. I've punched the medium flower out in Melon Mambo and the smaller one out in Emerald Envy, and I've added one of our really fun Regal enamel dots to the center. I'm going to take a dimensional and put it on the back, And I like to use the dimensional because it allows me to tuck this flower in between that baker's twine and get a good adhesion. And I'm going to pop one on the other side, and there you go. A cute little flip-flop card that anybody would enjoy getting. You can find a complete supply list on my blog post, and if you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. It's open 24/7, and you can get there from my blog, stampwithjinny.com. Thanks for joining me.